In this video, we'll be building our own interactive to-do list in Excel. It would allow us to input our tasks, assign them a category, assign them a priority, and a due date from the week, and also track our progress towards completing them. At the top, we'll also build a few summary tables to show us what are our tasks that are currently in progress and what are our pending tasks for today. This tutorial is jam-packed with Excel features like conditional formatting, data validation, some of the newer and more complex formulas, and some clever ways to work around different limitations within Excel's features. Now let's not waste any more time and just open Excel and get started. Let's start building our table. So we have our task. It's going to have a category, a priority, a due date, and we also have a status. Let's format that, say black with white, and we can also bold it. Now for our tasks, those will be typed in, but our category, priority, due date, and status, we want it to be drop downs. To do that, we'll use the data validation tool, which allows us to add a data validation rule that a specific cell can only accept different values from a list, and this would add a drop down here. Before we do that, let's go ahead and prepare our settings. So I have drop down settings here in the Format Painter to extend that. Here we'll have our category, leave an empty row, our priority, our day, and our status. Let's grab all those and make them smaller, and also want those to be formatted the same way. Grab the Format Painter and paint them all. So for our category, we'll have, let's say, work, personal, errand, household, health and fitness, finances, health only, and then leisure. Expand this, and you see that Excel did this weird formatting, but what we actually want is we want to grab this whole thing, press Ctrl-T to convert it to a table, and have my table has headers, and now it's a table, and gonna format it like that. And I also want all those to be no fill into the automatic color. And I also want to don't have them like all bolded. Then for our priority, we'll have low, we'll have medium, high, and we'll have urgent. I'm gonna select this as well, Ctrl-T, convert it to a table as well. Take this one, and actually don't want the filter buttons. I don't really need them. And then for day, we'll have Monday. And if you drop that down, just drag it down all the way through Sunday, or you can go through Friday, depending on what you want to plan. We'll have Ctrl-T here as well to turn it into a table and remove the filter. And for status, we'll have pending, in progress, for review, and done. Ctrl-T, turn it into a table. And now we have our settings for our drop downs. Just make those match the size within. Now we can start adding those data validation rules here, so that each of those will be a drop down from this section here. I'm gonna drop in a task here, respond to sales emails for insurance or whatever, and expand this a bit, and then grab this whole thing and convert it into a table as well. My table has headers, and we use the same format, and I don't need the filter button as well. So now every time we add a new task, for example, grocery shopping, it's gonna be added like that. I'll remove this one because I wanna set up those drop downs before we add new items, and then they'll be automatically copied to those new items. First of all, let's make our lives a bit easier and give our tables names. So if we go anywhere within the table and go to table design, you see that this is table 1, and I want it to be categories. I want this to be priorities. This is gonna be days, and this is gonna be statuses. I don't know if that's the multiple version, and this is gonna be tasks. So now that our tables are named, it's really easy to reference anything within those. So for example, we can say categories, and you see that we have the table, and then we can say category, and this will grab the whole thing here, and we'll use that to pass it to our data validation. So select the cell here, go to data, data validation and allow. We're gonna pick a list, and our source will be our category column within our categories table. But if you just type it in, it wouldn't work. For some reason, it doesn't parse it. So we will use the indirect formula. Just say indirect, open brackets, open a quotation, and then type it like that, categories, and in square brackets, we'll say category, close the square brackets, close the quotation marks, and close the brackets. This would take the category column from the categories table, and the indirect formula will translate it in a way that would allow Excel to use it as options for a list. And now when we try a drop down, we can pick different things from here, for example, work. The whole idea here is that if we add a new item here, for IT, and we come here, this is automatically added because we referenced the entire column. That's why we went through all the trouble to making those tables and giving them names. Then we'll do the same for priority, data validation, list, and we'll say equals, indirect, and in brackets, we'll have open quotations, this priority, so we have priorities, and priority in square brackets to reference the column priority itself. Close the quotation marks, close the brackets, okay. Have our priorities here. I'm gonna say hi. Then for due date, you're gonna do exactly the same, equals indirect, quotation marks, we're gonna say days, day column within the days table. And now we have the days as well, Monday. And for status, do exactly the same, list equals indirect in quotations, and we have statuses, and then the column in square brackets, status, close that, and now we can grab our status. So for example, this can be done. That's how we'll set our tasks. Now we want to add some conditional formatting to those to make sure that items that are done are highlighted in green, maybe high priority could be some form of yellow or orange, and urgent can be some reddish color, just to make it a bit more visual. In order to do that, let's first add some more tasks here, and I'm just gonna copy in a bunch of tasks. Essentially, I just generated with ChatGPT a bunch of tasks, and then I assign them like categories, priorities, due dates, and a status. Now let's go ahead and create our conditional formatting. I'm gonna select the whole table here. You see that it says tasks up here, so I don't have just a selection. I have the whole table. So if I keep adding new items, they'll also be included in this conditional formatting. I'm gonna say conditional formatting, new rule. I'm gonna pick use a formula to determine which cells to format. My formula here, it has to return true or false. And if it returns true, the formatting will be applied. If it doesn't, it won't be applied. I'm gonna say equals for the formulas. And what I want in here is I want my status to be done. So I can just pick it like that, equal, and I have done in quotation marks. So essentially what this does is it says, if this is equal to this, it will return true. But as it goes down, I want this to be adjusted. And the way to do it here is you can just delete the $ before the 6. So now I know that it's always the F column, but the row will change as I go down. And we can add our formatting. I'm gonna go to fill and pick a nice light green, okay, and it's gonna apply it to everything that's done. The important thing here is that when you're writing this criteria, you should always write it for the first row from your selection. That's why I didn't select everything from here. I selected only the tasks themselves without the header. Then we can repeat the same for the items that have the priority high and the ones that are urgent. Once again, select the whole thing. Make sure that you have tasks here. Conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula, and we're gonna say equals, pick the first priority. I'm gonna use F4 to cycle through until I have the 6 being not fixed, so no $ in front of it. I'm gonna say equals high, and in the format, let's pick an orange, but I'm gonna go with more colors and make it just like a brighter orange. And now everything that's high is colored in this like light orange. If it's getting a bit too busy, first we had the banding. This is where each next row is colored differently so that it's easier to find things. But now that we have those colors that we are adding, this gets a bit too busy. So you can go to table design and just remove the check next to banded rows. So now only the ones that are more important are highlighted. Let's select the whole thing again and add an additional conditional formatting rule for our urgent task. So use a formula. I'm going to say equals. Again, it's going to be the priority. Cycle with F4 until the 6 has no dollar sign, and then say if this is equal to urgent, then we'll go with red, more colors, and I'm going to say like a light red. And for some reason this didn't work, so let's go to manage rules and see what happens. So see what we did here for us. Somehow we messed up our reference. What we can do is we can double click on it to edit it and just say D6, okay, and now everything should work. If we hit apply, yep, so now everything that was urgent is now highlighted in red. But what happens if something that's urgent is set to done? Let's see. You go and set it to done, it still remains red and we want it to be green. So if we go to conditional formatting, manage rules, you can grab this one, the green one that's at the bottom, and with the arrow we can move it to the top. We can apply, and now you see that this done is more important than the priority. If I switch it to anything else, it would once again turn to red because it's urgent, but as soon as it's done, it's going to be green, as with this high priority task up here. Another thing we can do is grab those settings here, and we can go to data and group so that we can hide them like that. Now that we have our list of tasks, it's already pretty great, but we want to have some like summary at the top that tells us what we need to do today, how many tasks we have left, things like that. So let's just add a bunch of rows up here. Let's move that down to, let's say, row 20, and we'll be adding some summaries here. So I'm going to go to view and to remove the grid lines. I'm interrupting the tutorial just for a few seconds to let you know about the Minty Analyst newsletter. It's all about tech, business, productivity, solopreneurship, things like that. You can check it out in the first link in the description below. It's completely free, and if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. Now back to Excel. Here, let's say currently open tasks. I'm gonna format that with black background and white color, and we'll be adding a list of the tasks that are currently open here. Then something else we'll be adding. I'm gonna copy this, move it down here. Is going to be our pending tasks for the day, and here we'll add the tasks that are pending for the day that it currently is. And in order to be able to fill those two, we'll need to have like the current date and things like that. So let's here on the side add some additional statistics. So here we can say week number, and here we can say equals to week num, which is the week number, and you're going to say today. Close those two, and what this formula will give us is every time we open this, we'll know which week it is, and we won't be using this for anything here, but for my work, for example, it's important to know the number of the week, so I want to have it here all the time. Then we can also add the current date, and this is going to be today, and I want to change the formatting. I'm going to hit Ctrl+1 to open the Format Cells dialog window, and here I'm going to say I want the day, I want the short month, and I want the year. Let's grab the day of the week, and we can do that with formatting, but I want it to be text because I want to be able to compare it to the due day here. So we're going to use the text formula, and we're going to pass the today formula to get the date, and the formatting will be 4 days for the long day format, and this would say Thursday. Okay, let's make those all right aligned. Then I want to have all pending tasks for today as a number, so how many tasks we have pending for today. Expand those a little bit, and here we'll have a countifs formula, and it's gonna look a bit more complex at first, but it's actually quite simple. So what countifs allows us is we give it a criteria range and then a criteria to match to that range, and we can add as many of those as we want. So what we want here is we want to count all the tasks where the status is pending. So it's not in progress, it's not in for review, it's not done, it's pending. So something we are yet to start working on. And we also want the day to match. So this is the due day, so the day we have to do that, we want it to match the current day. So we'll know that those tasks are for today. So our first criteria range is going to be our due day. And here we can select the whole table. And you're going to see that it says tasks #all. So it's taking the whole table and it's grabbing the due date. So this is why it appears a bit more complex, but because we named our tables and our columns appropriately, it's much easier to read those formulas. Comma, and we want our criteria 1, want it to be this Thursday here. And then we'll add a second criteria, which is going to be our status. And you see this black arrow, I can just click here and it gets the status. Doesn't have the all here. You can do it both ways actually. So we can just go in and delete this whole thing. This would once again reference everything. The reason is that the #all also includes the header. And for the purpose here, you can do it both ways. Let's leave it like that. It's a bit easier to read. And the criteria for our status, we want it to be pending. Close this and we have 7 pending tasks for today. So for Thursday, let's select Thursday and just check if that's the case. We get 6 pending tasks for today. And if we come down here, we have 3 tasks here in Thursday that are pending. And we have another 3 here that are pending. And if I change one of those to, let's say, for review, now we have 5 pending tasks for today. I'm gonna bold those and just highlight them a bit like that. And I'm also gonna go and add a bold border. Now that we have those, particularly the day of the week, we can go in and finish those 2 tables here to the side. Our currently open tasks, what we want here is we want a list of the tasks that are currently in progress. So we're gonna write a formula that's gonna say filter. And for the filter, we're gonna grab all the tasks. We just want the task. We don't want any of the other stuff up here. And include here is our criteria. So we want all the tasks where the status equals in progress. And we can also pass an if empty parameter where we can say nothing currently in progress. So the idea is that if we don't have any tasks that are currently in progress, instead of this just being blank, it would say nothing currently in progress. Close that, and we have 2 here. So what happens if we have more than the space that we have here? Then we'll get a spill error, so we won't be able to see everything. So what we can do is we can limit the currently open tasks that are shown to, let's say, 5. And then we'll never be in the position where this is an issue for our list up here. In order to do that, we'll wrap this entire formula in the take formula. And you see the first 2 parameters are array and row. So this is our array. And we'll just say at the end 5 to take the first 5 rows. So now we'll always get the first 5 rows, and if there's anything else, it just won't be listed here. But then how would we know that we have more to do than what's in here? What we can do is add a counter here, and this counter would show us everything that this filter formula is returning. So we'll grab only the filter formula without the comma and the 5 and the take, copy that, and up here, we'll change this to be a formula. I'm gonna say equals at the end. I'm gonna say like that, and then we're gonna use ampersand to concatenate, and our concatenation will be count A for non-empty, because if we only use count, it only counts numbers. And in the bracket, we'll paste the entire filter formula. So what this formula would do is it's gonna filter those tasks up here, count them, and then concatenate this number to our currently open tasks text here. And you see here that now we have 2 open tasks. And if let's say I grab this in progress and paste it here over all those, you now see that we see the first 5 that are in progress, but at the top here we get 7 because we have 7 in total. And now if I grab this one, which is prepare slides for client meeting, the first one, and I say, okay, I'm done with this, or I sent it for review, those decreased to 6, and now we only see the next tasks that we need to do. Let's do a similar thing and list the pending tasks for the day. So what are things that we haven't yet started on, but we need to do in this specific day? I'm gonna use a similar approach as here, but instead of 1 criteria here, we'll have to add 2, and it's a bit different here than what we did with count ifs here. So we cannot just like list different criteria. We need to use a different approach. So let's go ahead and write that formula out. Again, we'll start with filter. Our array will be tasks because we want to show only the task, and then we have 2 criteria. So in order to fit those, I'm gonna wrap the criteria in brackets. And our first criteria is that we want our status to be equal to pending. We're gonna close that and think of it like that. This returns true or false, which is like 1 or 0. 1 for true, 0 for false. So if this returns 1, this is shown. The way to add multiple criteria here is to multiply them. So we can multiply a second criteria, and if it's also 1, this is all gonna be 1 and the task will be listed here. But if one of the criteria comes as false, as 0, then the whole thing will be 0 and the task won't be included. Our second criteria is we want our due date to be equal to our day of the week today. Gonna close that, and then if empty, we're gonna say great job, nothing pending for today. And we have the list here. Once again here, if we have a lot more items, it's going to be an issue. So let's also add the tick formula here and limit those to 5 as well. Follow the same approach to add a counter up here. So if they're more than 5, we can only show the 5 here and then have a counter up here. For this purpose, let's copy only the filter formula all the way up to here. Copy that, and then here we'll say equals, open quotes, that, and concatenate count A of this filter formula. And we have 2. So for example, now if we have things that are pending and are for Thursday, so for example, if you grab Thursday and just put it on all those, you see that now it says that we have 8 pending tasks, but we only show the first 5. And now we can clean up some of the space here. And because we did our settings at the same level as the task table, it was possible to clean those without messing anything. A pretty easy to build and easy to use tracker of things that you have to do throughout the week. And of course, you can go ahead and follow the same principles to modify it, add additional details, add additional summaries up here that would work for you and your use case. Back when I started my first job, it was in a large corporation where we couldn't install software and were not allowed to use any SaaS products. Even if I had my personal subscription somewhere, I was not allowed to use it for work purposes. So there was no way for me to track my tasks and my daily to-dos apart from inputting them in Outlook or tracking them on a piece of paper. And I wasn't a big fan of paper back then, and I'm still not in certain circumstances, so the only option I could think of was building my own tracker in Excel. By the time I left the company, a lot of my colleagues were using this tracker as well, and it was a really simple to use Excel template that you can just populate with your weekly tasks and keep track of how things are progressing. So yeah, give it a try, adjust it as you see fit, and see if it can help you get more stuff done. As soon as you find the right format to track your tasks each week, you'll start saving a lot of time. And another way to save a lot of time is to automate mundane daily tasks. And I highly suggest you check out this video on how to save even more time with Make.com automations. Thanks for watching. See you next week.